Hey, can I tell you something wild? Over 80 years ago, there was this guy, Nikola Tesla, who might have figured out how to power the world without wires. Imagine that. Energy flowing like sunlight, everywhere, free for everyone. Crazy, right? But here's the twist. His dream got crushed. Greed, fear, and money got in the way. And yeah, it sounds like sci-fi, but it's real. So, I'm Ollie, and this is Hyper Focus, where we geek out about science, art, and ideas that make you think. Grab a coffee or something, and let's talk about Tesla. Because this guy, he wasn't just some inventor. He was like a modern-day Prometheus, bringing fire from the gods and getting burned for it. By the way, we're doing this episode on January 7th, 2025. That's 82 years since Tesla died. And honestly, it's kind of fitting, because his story still feels unfinished. Alright, picture this. It's the early 1900s. Tesla's standing under this giant tower, his Wardencliffe Tower. Lightning's flashing from his machines, lighting up the sky. And for a moment, it looks like he's about to change the world. But then, bam, the money runs out, and the whole thing falls apart. Can you imagine how that felt? Standing there, watching his dream collapse, knowing he was right. But no one else could see it? What if he had just one more chance? Could he have finished what he started? And would we be living in his vision today? But let's talk about Tesla as a person, because he was different. Once, during one of his public demonstrations, Tesla stood before a crowd and let millions of volts of electricity dance around him. Sparks flew, the air hummed, and the audience was both terrified and mesmerized. But Tesla? He stood there, calm, confident, like he was part of the storm itself. It wasn't just a show. For Tesla, it was proof that energy could be harnessed and tamed, that the invisible could become visible. It's wild to think about, isn't it? Someone so connected to his work that he literally stepped into it. He ate dinner at exactly 8:10 every night, folded 18 napkins before eating, hated touching people. And get this, he had visions, not just daydreams, but these crazy flashes of light and fully formed ideas popping into his head. A lot of that came from his mom, Georgina. She was super inventive, always making gadgets at home, and she passed that creativity on to Tesla. He adored her. So when she died, it broke him. There's even this story that he reportedly felt a deep spiritual connection to her, which shaped his views on energy and life's interconnectedness, which only made him more convinced that everything is connected by some kind of universal energy. And that's what Tesla was obsessed with, this invisible energy he called the ether. He believed it was a medium that carried energy and information, like ripples on a pond. Back then, a lot of scientists believed in it too. Einstein even explored the idea before quantum mechanics came along and changed the game. Today, we talk about quantum fields instead, which are kind of like invisible grids that fill the universe and explain how particles interact. So while modern physics doesn't support Tesla's ether, some of his ideas about invisible connections in the universe still feel oddly ahead of their time. He believed it was a medium that carried energy and information. Back then, a lot of scientists supported the idea, but modern physics has since moved on to concepts like quantum fields, which explain energy and matter in different terms. Think of it like ripples on a pond, waves we can't see, but they carry energy through space. Sounds mystical, right? But here's the thing. Back then, a lot of scientists believed in it too. Even Einstein wrestled with the idea before quantum mechanics came along. Tesla stuck to it, though. To him, it wasn't just a theory, it was real. And he thought we could tap into it to power the world. No wires, just energy, everywhere. Oh, and here are some fun facts about him. 1. Tesla claimed he was working on a concept he called the teleforce, a theoretical directed energy weapon. While he believed it could act as a defensive measure, there's no evidence it was ever successfully built or tested. 2. He spoke 8 languages. 8. 3. The guy had a photographic memory. He could picture machines in his head and test them mentally before even building anything. 4. He was obsessed with the number 3, like he'd walk around buildings 3 times before going inside. 5. And once, he accidentally caused a mini earthquake in New York City while messing with a machine and had to smash it to stop the shaking. Back to his big idea. Wireless energy. Tesla built Wardencliffe Tower because he thought he could send electricity through the air, no cables needed. Imagine that. Free energy everywhere. But then, JP Morgan, his main investor, was like, where do we put the meter? And just like that, the money dried up. No meter, no profits. And without financial backing, Tesla's dream of wireless energy remained theoretical, never progressing beyond experimental stages. And I can't stop thinking, what if? What if Tesla wasn't crazy but just saw further than the rest of us? What if we weren't ready for him, but he was ready for us? What if Tesla had the resources he needed? What if his ideas weren't too big, but we were too small to grasp them? What if it worked? What if we had free energy today? No power plants, no fossil fuels, just towers sending electricity to everything. The world would be completely different. But even though Tesla's dream didn't come true, his ideas still make us think. Like, what if there really is an invisible energy connecting everything? And what if Tesla wasn't wrong? What if we just haven't caught up to him yet? It's not so far-fetched when you think about modern physics. Quantum fields, vacuum energy, all that weird stuff scientists talk about now. It's kind of like ancient ideas too. Prana, chi, pneuma, concepts of universal energy from ancient traditions. While Tesla wasn't explicitly tied to these ideas, his belief in interconnected energy echoes similar themes. Different names, but maybe they're all pointing to the same thing. Tesla definitely thought so. And honestly, I think he saw something we're still trying to figure out. You know what Tesla said? If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And the more you look at his work, the more it feels like he wasn't just talking about machines. He was talking about reality itself. But before we wrap up, let's talk about how Tesla's story ends, because it's heartbreaking. Imagine this. He spent his final years living in a tiny hotel room in New York City, feeding pigeons and talking to them like they were his only friends. One of them, a white pigeon with gray tips on her wings, he said, was his favorite. He even claimed that he loved her, and that when she died, he felt an overwhelming sadness, just like he had when his mother passed away. Tesla died alone, broke, and forgotten by most of the world. Imagine that. A man who dreamed of lighting up the planet spent his last days in the shadows. It's the kind of story that grabs your heart and doesn't let go. How does someone go from shaping the future to being erased from the present? And what if the world had understood him better? Would we already be living in a utopia powered by his genius? But maybe that's the price of seeing too far ahead. Tesla dared to dream of a world we couldn't yet imagine. And the tragedy is, we left him behind. And yet, his legacy refuses to die. It lingers, like the echoes of his experiments, reminding us to dream bigger, push further, and never let go of the impossible. It's the kind of ending that makes you stop and think. How does someone go from changing the world to being a ghost in his own time? And what if the world had understood him better? Would we be living in his vision right now? But maybe that's the tragedy of genius. Tesla saw a future no one else could, and the world just wasn't ready to follow him there. And yet, his story isn't just about failure. It's about daring to dream so big that even when you fall, your ideas ripple out and change everything. His work didn't end with him. It keeps inspiring dreamers, scientists, and inventors to this day. But here's the thing. His ideas never really died. They're still here, sparking curiosity, inspiring inventions, and making us wonder, what if? Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me and diving into Tesla's world. What do you think? Was he ahead of his time, or are we just catching up? Let me know. And remember, science isn't just about answers. It's about wonder. Catch you next time.